Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about I would be so scared to eat my food after that. DoorDasher left a nasty note in customer's Popeye delivery thinking she wouldn't tip, then gave her cash. So this DoorDash driver took a no-tip customer's order, or someone who seemed to be a no-tip customer's order, and then left a note in a delivery, which overall is going to make drivers look bad, but this enticed the customer to actually tip the driver. Whether or not she was going to do that already or not is kind of irrelevant, and we'll go into why later. So with that said, I want to go over everything that's being said in this article, how it actually is for DoorDash, UberEats, and Grubhub drivers and customers across the board and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. A user on TikTok has sparked discussion after showing a clip in which a DoorDash driver leaves her a negative note believing the customer did not leave a tip. Now you see, here's the thing about the DoorDash driver right off the bat. Number one, she's 100% wrong for taking a no-tip customer's order, regardless of whether she was going to tip after or not. It's called no tip, no trip. Not no tip, take the customer's order and then leave a note in a bag. Not no trip, take the customer's order and eat it for yourself. Not no tip, do the order anyway begrudgingly. No tip, no trip. It's that simple. And second, you never try to mess with the customer's food, because then they have also an opportunity to claim,
The driver ended up eating my food. Why did they eat my food? You saw that? They went in the bag.
which you don't even want to open yourself up to that. That's just bad news across the board. Not to mention, you never expect a customer to tip after, because the people who tip before are the ones who tip after, not the ones who don't tip at all. Tipping on DoorDash is a popular point of discussion online. Some drivers have complained about lack of tipping from customers on the app. Others have claimed that a failure to tip may lead to longer delivery times. Further, users allege that they have been reprimanded for tipping poorly, with some even claiming that their 30% tip was not high enough by their driver. The first two stories they linked to, I made a video about already. I will leave that in the description. Feel free to check them out. But the latter point of a 30% tip not being high enough, that's the driver's fault for accepting it. If you don't like the order, don't take it. It doesn't matter if they tipped enough or they didn't tip enough, or if you're just too far away from the actual restaurant to do anything about it. That's all a factor here. Yes, the customer's tip does hold a pretty powerful factor in itself, but also, if you think that the order is not high enough for you, regardless of where the money's coming from, yes, the fact that the tip actually prevents certain ratings and contract violations because the customer profiling and all of that, if you don't like the amount for the order, don't be that guy to take the order. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have those boundaries, because otherwise you're going to be on TikTok being the reason that we look bad. Recently, TikTok user Tameraaw decided to place an order via DoorDash. When the driver arrived, she tried to hand her a cash tip. I'm going to leave her TikTok as well as her profile in the description so you can develop your own opinions on the subject.
Hello.
Ignore it. You keep that.
Why?
Because I didn't see a tip on the app and I put a little card in there. So please keep that. I'm sorry.
This is a classic case of you shot yourself in the foot. You knew what you did. You knew how you screwed up, and you decided to leave a note in the bag to prove some sort of arbitrary point. When in reality, you're the one who was at fault at the end of the day, and instead of you taking the tip and walking away, which you're right, you shouldn't have taken the tip if you did that. But at the same time, you shouldn't have taken the order if it wasn't enticing for you enough to begin with. It's no tip, no trip if you don't like the order. Way to prove that to yourself. Tameraaw tries to insist that she take the tip, but the dasher refuses. They eventually wish each other a good night and the driver departs. This is a bad example for drivers and customers. Now drivers are going to see that, oh, they could potentially get a cash tip after, where in most cases that's just not the case. And on the other side of that, you have customers who are seeing this and be like,
You see, this is exactly why I don't tip on the app before. Because of this nonsense right here.
which doesn't change the fact that smart drivers wouldn't take those orders anyway, but it actually builds their case when in reality, that doesn't change our position. But again, you can't expect the wrong people to do the right thing. In a follow-up video, Tameraaw reveals the contents of the note. Luckily for you, I didn't bother the food, but next time consider tipping your driver, the note reads. Okay, Okay, I will say this. I've heard worse things. Assuming that they didn't actually mess with the food and that wasn't like some sort of bait and switch.
Oh, please. It's not like it's the first time I've done that.
That doesn't make it better.
That right there is a lot better than most, but it also proves a point. Why would you want to work with customers like that to try to prove some arbitrary point? Now you're on TikTok, probably being told something very negative, and now you're gonna be put in an even worse position because, hey, she was ready to tip you in cash after. Even if you're 100% right, you took a major risk taking an order assuming that there was no tip. It's not surprising that the driver didn't expect the tip after not seeing one on the app. In July of last year, one Uber Eats driver ran an experiment where they took only non-tipped orders to see how many of their customers would give them a tip in cash. None of them did. Which is why when you see things in the comments saying,
I tip after service. You know, if you tip in cash, you don't have to report it to the IRS. If you tip on the app before, there's no reason for you to actually do well.
meanwhile, the fact of the matter is, most cases they don't tip in cash at all. There's also no incentive for us to take your order to begin with. In the comment section of Tameraw's videos, users shared their thoughts about the situation. I would be scared to eat my food after that, a commenter said. I think the point that she was trying to say, she didn't mess with the food, but there are drivers that would. In fact, in the comment section of a lot of my videos, there is somebody who's like, no tip, I sip your Coke or something like that. That's actually pretty common, even if it's not supposed to be the case. I'm a firm believer that you never mess with somebody else's food because I wouldn't want somebody to mess with my food, but there are other people that feel differently. Even if it's not right, I 100% agree that is not right and you should never do that. There are people who do. At least she felt bad, offered another. Again, that's exactly the case. Like, you shot yourself in the foot. I would have taken that order to begin with, but way to ruin your shot at getting a cash tip by putting that card in there. She didn't have to accept the order, observed a third. It shows you before you accept if there's or tip or not. That's exactly it. No tip, no trip. Not no tip, take the order and assume a tip after. Not no tip, slip a card in there to prove some point. Not no tip, mess with their food in some way. No tip, no trip. It's that simple. That's why I leave a message on DoorDash that says I'll tip in person, noted a further TikToker. But that's also a red flag in itself because there are so many people that say that, but the fact of the matter is that they don't. And not to mention, we wouldn't have known that you left that note, and even if we would have also known that you don't do that. We have gone through this so many times to where we know better. Are there exceptions to the rule? Few and far between, but in this day and age, we can't risk it. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. The DoorDash driver, 100% in the wrong here. I think the driver also had good intentions for trying to make a point saying, tip your driver because blah, blah, blah. The problem is that you can't get the wrong people to do the right thing. I think it came from a good place. I think it was trying to prove a point, but because of that, you shot yourself in the foot for getting a cash tip after. That also said, this also is exactly what builds upon the point of, you never take a no tip order. You don't know if they're gonna tip cash in person because a lot of the cases they don't. This person, apparently, we're gonna assume that this wasn't staged, that she was going to tip after regardless of what happened. This is exactly why you don't mess with other people's stuff. It's no tip, no trip. Because then this is what happens. You end up on TikTok or wherever, and suddenly you're a viral post about why DoorDash drivers are the worst people in the world. Stick to no tip, no trip. Not no tip, take the order anyway, slip a note in there, or anything like that. Keep any PSAs on TikTok or whatever, but know that you can't get the wrong people to do the right thing. And stick with working with customers that do right by you at the end of the day. Because it's customers typically that don't tip on the app before that cause the most contract violations, bad ratings, and wrongful deactivations. Because who knows what happened to this driver after all of that. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.